I'd like to share with you from my play, Summer Dreams. Esper Brinkley, 28, sturdy and honest. His wife, Maggie Brinkley, 27, also looks to be sturdy and honest. Her best friend, Etna Wilder, 26, is fragile and bookish. Her long lost love, Monroe Roosevelt, 29, handsome and serious, returns under the watchful eye of Mama Mojo, an old, ageless spirit who lives in the great dismal swamp. Scene one. Everyone's finished supper as they sit around a simple wood table with kerosene lamps and candles. Edna and Maggie listen intently to the story Esper tells. Esper. They buried my great Aunt Viola in purple. Buried her in a purple dress and a mink stole. And just like anybody else ever buried in purple, she came back. Hey, Kim.
1 minute?
Well, you know what? I am doing a podcast, and it's amazing that you would call at this moment. Only you, Kim, would call at this very moment that I'm doing my very first podcast. So you will go in the record books with me on that one. How you doing?
I'm okay. I want to tell you, make sure you have some food for the next few days and do not leave your home.
You're serious about that, aren't you?
I've gotten this from top sources in D.C.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be something serious happening around the country.
It's gonna be very serious. It's been planned for a very long time, and terrorists are going to be in the streets. So I'm calling the people I love. I've already gotten 2 phone calls today regarding it, and so I'm just saying, if you can, stay home tomorrow and Wednesday. Do not leave.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, Kim, and I am ever since Charlottesville, I know that they've been planning and waiting for the opportunity to create unrest. But, to stay in the house, I got to vote tomorrow. I haven't voted yet, so I'm going to go out and vote first thing in the morning. And, then we're doing the 12 days of Turner, and we're doing that because it's important to recognize the Nat Turner insurrection, which I recognize, or I believe, was the first battle of the Civil War. And so we're here, in fact, at Trinity Episcopal Church, one of the oldest churches in the nation, doing this event. And I know exactly what you're saying in terms of tomorrow and Wednesday being critical. Just no joke at all, right?
No joke.
Yeah, yeah. So what did they talk about locations? I mean, I think Michigan obviously is on the list.
Shani called me, her ex-husband is a police officer in Richmond, and he said, do not leave your home. Well, she didn't tell me he said it because she can't repeat what he said because it's confidential. But they are all arming up.
Yeah.
Because they know they're coming. Also, my friend at the garden called me this morning and said, one of the gardeners who's Asian today told her, do not leave your home. I have a top person in D.C. I am having nightmares of being put in a camp again, like my parents.
Wow.
And she says, I'm not just getting groceries for 2 days. I'm getting groceries for 6 days. She said, because all hell's going to break loose. As they were speaking, all of a sudden about 15 trucks came down the street in front of the garden, Trump supporters.
Right.
Screaming, shouting. And it's not about being black or white. It's about everything.
Right.
All of us.
Right.
And so my girlfriend just called. She doesn't call me very often. And she's like, how are you doing? Do not leave your home. Go get groceries today. And I'm like, you're the second call I've gotten today from reliable sources.
Right.
And Shani's like, I called Grandma. I called my mom. I'm calling you. I'm calling Terry. I can't tell you how I know this. But do not leave your home for the next few days.
No, I received a messenger. I mean, a video from on Messenger this morning from a friend out in Oklahoma in Tulsa, where they had Black Wall Street, and she's in the mix of all of that kind of activity. And when she sends me stuff, I know that it's real and serious. And she sent me a video of a white supremacist who was basically saying it's on. Regardless of who is declared a winner, it's on.
They've already decided they want a civil war.
Exactly.
And so I'm just saying, tell Peyton, let's just stay safe.
Right.
Because when you go tomorrow morning early, there's going to be tons of Trump supporters there to intimidate you. You know that.
Well, I mean, every area is going to be different.
They should have called in the National Guard in different states so people could vote without the intimidation, but they haven't done that, have they?
Well, I think certain states are on standby in terms of all of that.
No, it shouldn't be standby. They should already be there. They should be there right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely going to be something if all the signs are there, and they're definitely looking for something to happen. And I wouldn't say nervous, but just kind of like on full alert. And your phone call definitely helps confirm that even more.
I'm just calling my family, people I love, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I know in my gut it's not going to be good. Just in my gut. Or
it may be, we just don't know. We just don't know.
Well, first of all, they're doing it to intimidate people so they don't go vote.
Right.
So it's between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And
but you call me the minute after you vote and get home, okay?
I will. Thank you for calling.
We'll do your podcast.
Okay, I will.
All right. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So it is a serious time thing that's happening in the country right now. And the work that I'm involved with here in Virginia is around the Juneteenth holiday, the Juneteenth observance. For those of you who don't know, Juneteenth recognizes the end of slavery in America. And here in Virginia, JuneteenthVA, our mission is to help America heal from the wounds of slavery without shame or blame. And what's going on in terms of the election tomorrow has been very much a part of the work that we do in terms of helping America make its way to living up to the promise of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And the forces that are fighting against that are armed and ready to prevent this from happening. You know that as we've led up to this election, there's been massive effort for voter suppression. That's been going on since the beginning, the founding of this nation. When this nation was founded, the only people who were allowed to vote were males who owned property. So that, of course, left out 99% of the rest of the nation. And what we do with Juneteenth and with the theater is that we dramatize those stories, those incidents, those events that were part of telling the story, the narrative of these particular events. And that's where the 12 Days of Turner comes in. That's what we've been doing starting on October 30th, the day that Nat Turner was captured. October 30th, 1831. He was captured and then given a trial and hung on November 11th. The 12 Days of Turner come from that block of time. And what we are looking to do is to help folks understand how something that happened 189 years ago has had a ripple effect and continues to be a part of who we are in 2020. August 21st, 1831, Nat Turner launched the insurrection that led to the deaths of almost 60 white men, women, and children, and then also the deaths of over 300 Black men, women, and children. And we look at the Nat Turner insurrection as the first battle of the Civil War, battle that went all the way to 1877, which was the end of Reconstruction. In 1831, when Nat Turner launched the insurrection, that was the beginning of the war against slavery, WAS, the war against slavery. The second battle of the war against slavery was in 1857 with the United States Supreme Court ruling on the Dred Scott decision, which essentially said that Black folks were born enslaved and they would die enslaved, that they could never be free. The third battle of the war against slavery would have been the John Brown raid on Harper's Ferry in 1859. The Civil War started a few months later in April of 1861, ran through April of 1865, and then the Reconstruction period that lasted until 1877, at which point federal troops were pulled from the South, from the camps in the South, which allowed Jim Crow and the KKK and other terrorist groups to be able to rise. We get into the 19th century with the 20th century with the lynching summers. They call them the Summers of Red, which meant that thousands of Black people were lynched in those beginning years of the 20th century. And now here we are in 2020, and most recently they have found a mass grave in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that speaks to what they call the massacre of Wall Street, Black Wall Street. That was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So now that we are, that's the connection that we want to make from Nat Turner in 1831 that continues to have a ripple effect in the 21st century. And that's why it's important to deal with and look at the Nat Turner insurrection, which again, we look at as the first battle of the war against slavery. These are difficult times. These are biblical times. They will look back 1,000 years from now and ask, what did we know? When did we know it? And what did we do about it? Tomorrow, November 3rd, 2020, will be one of those dates that will live in infamy, like December 7th, 1941, like July 4th, 1776. You will say the date and people will know what you're talking about. They will have a narrative to go with that date. August 1619. We know what happened in August of 1619. And that happened here in Virginia, not more than 50 miles where I'm speaking right now. And again, that is why Juneteenth Virginia knows that we have a role to play, an important role to play in helping this nation heal from the wounds of slavery without shame or blame. And what we do is we take this difficult history and we put it on stage, and this seems to help people be able to be less defensive and more open to conversation and discussion without shame or blame. And we believe that this is the only way that we're going to be able to move beyond the legacy of slavery, is by bringing these skeletons out of the closet and being able to talk about them in ways that, again, are helpful to the healing process. Four years ago, I was in Charlottesville, with a play that we do quite often called Abolitionist Museum. We were in Charlottesville in October of 2016. We did a press conference in front of the Robert E. Lee statue. We take this play called Abolitionist Museum into schools, churches, other faith institutions, houses of faith, recreation centers, and we do it in front of Confederate monuments. The play features 8 historical figures: Harriet Tubman, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Sojourner Truth, John Brown, Frederick Douglass, David Walker, Abraham Lincoln, and Nat Turner. They are wax figures in a museum. The museum curator brings in a Confederate flag, and they debate whether or not to burn this flag. At the end of the play, we have a post-show discussion, and we ask the audience, if you were a resident in this wax museum, what would your vote be? To burn or not to burn the Confederate flag? And the conversations have been illuminating and healing in many ways. In 2009, we did the play in Suffolk, and we were doing in the middle of a performance when suddenly a voice rang out, "Nat Turner killed my family." And she was looking at the actor playing Nat Turner, if he were indeed Nat Turner himself. And the way she said it made it sound like it had happened 2 weeks ago and not almost 200 years ago. And that's how inflamed passions are about all of this. Also in the audience that day were members of the Sons of the Confederacy who had heard about the play's plot and wanted to make sure that they were there to protect their flag. And I have to say to folks, it was one of the best post-show conversations we could have ever hoped for, where you had people coming from radically different perspectives, able to have a civilized conversation where they were able to speak honestly and listen carefully without shame or blame. That's the work of Juneteenth VA, and we are here and encourage you to join us on this journey, whether you believe that the flag needs to fly above a state capitol, or if you believe that it needs to be banished to a museum, or you believe that it shouldn't exist at all. Your conversation is important to us in terms of being able to examine, again, people coming from radically different perspectives, but able to work together to come to some common, healthy solution. That call that we started off with was real. And this is all real. And if we want to see this country live up to the ideals and the promises of those founding documents, then this is the time to step up and be a part of the healing. Thank you for your time. And we'll do a reading from Summers in Suffolk the next time. Or maybe we should do it now. I want to thank my friend Darlene for encouraging me to do this. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you.